This week on Ebert and Roeper.
We must decide if you will become my mistress.
Fine. That's this much of the movie.
Yeah.
You're the one killed our friend?
That's right.
In most Westerns, everybody just stands there and shoots at each other.
Wake up!
So there's about 3 different levels going on.
Huh?
That rancher sat in that jailhouse sort of sneering and letting his lawman lay down the law till he figured it was time to show us that he gave the orders around here. Ooh, sticks in my craw.
Robert Duvall and Kevin Costner see the wide open spaces disappearing in Open Range. We'll have an early review of that movie, plus 3 other new films and 2 Oscar winners new on DVD. I'm Roger Ebert.
And I'm Richard Roeper. Our first movie is Le Divorce, and I'm starting to wonder if Kate Hudson really has what it takes to be the star I thought she'd become after Almost Famous. Following How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and Alex and Emma, this is Hudson's 3rd straight disappointment in 2003. It's a flat comedy melodrama combo filled with stereotypes about snooty French and gauche Americans. Naomi Watts' Roxy lives in Paris and has been deserted by her husband. Hudson plays Sister Isabel, who has just arrived from America.
Anyway, you should get out of here now. Mom and Dad want you to come home. I want you to come home.
And listen to all the I told you so's. No.
Within days, Isabel has taken up with a young French activist and a much older French diplomat who gives her a pricey Kelly purse.
Anyway, you should give it back.
Anyway, he wouldn't take it back. And anyway, why shouldn't one accept an expensive gift from a man if he wants to give it?
Because it puts you in the position of having to do what he wants.
Do it anyway.
Le Divorce has some beautiful scenery and a few dashes of wit, but there are far too many other broadly sketched characters, including Glenn Close as a smug Earth Mother type author, and Matthew Modine, who plays Roxy's husband's new lover. All fine actors, but I didn't think any of them were particularly strong here. As for the luminous Watts, she's playing a mediocre poet who tries to commit suicide while 8 months pregnant. Hardly someone to win our sympathies. Thumbs down.
I liked it more than you did, although I agree about the Matthew Modine character, who I thought was a complete disappointment, and the whole scene on top of the Eiffel Tower completely unnecessary, and the whole subplot didn't work. But what I liked is that the movie was very observant about the difference between French and Americans, and very sardonic and very sarcastic on both sides as these two nations try to get together. I love it, for example, when the Americans say that no matter what you tell a French person, all they say is, of course.
I thought it was very basic and simplistic about the differences between French and Americans, and I think there's just too many soap opera elements here. I think maybe the novel, it might have played out a little better and you got to know the characters here, but there's so much going on, and none of it is really that plausible.
What about Stephen Fry? He's hilarious as the expert from Christie's Auction House, explaining...
Fine. That's this much of the movie.
Oh, yeah, well, okay. Well, there are a lot of good things. I gave it thumbs up.
Well, I'm giving it thumbs down, and I feel good about it. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, as we just saw, there are a lot of movies about romance between older men and younger women, maybe because so many directors are older men. But The Housekeeper, which is a new French film, suggests that once the passion cools down, a man in his 50s and a woman of about 20 might have almost nothing in common. Jean-Pierre Bacri stars as a divorced man whose apartment is a mess, so he answers an ad for a housekeeper. Emily DeKin meets him for an interview.
Mais c'est un travail qui vous plaît?
Ouais, beaucoup. En fait, la vérité, c'est que je l'ai jamais fait. Mais je suis sûre que ça va me plaire.
He's not looking for an affair, but she talks him into letting her move in. At first, he sleeps on the sofa.
Je vais pas rester toute seule.
Attendez, mais écoutez-moi, écoutez-moi. Il faut pas trop vous attacher à moi, Laura. Je vous aime pas, vous m'aimez pas non plus, hein, donc...
They take a vacation together. She sees herself as a future wife. He sees her as a housekeeper that he happens to be sleeping with.
On reviendra en vacances, on est bien à Paris aussi.
C'est pas pareil. Toi, à Paris, tu travailles, moi, je suis ta femme de ménage. J'ai envie de rester, je suis bien ici.
She likes to dance all night to loud music. He likes to get home early. On vacation, he watches her playing volleyball on the beach with people her own age and becomes very aware of his age. The Housekeeper creates an observant, sympathetic portrait of the way the young woman gets temporary emotional control over this older man. Emily DeKin isn't your routine French sex pot, but a talented 22-year-old who won as Best Actress in Cannes in 1999. And Jean-Pierre Bacri is touching and subtle as his character tries to maintain his dignity in an emotional whirlwind. You know, they say that an older guy dating a younger woman is like a boat owner. The best 2 days are when you get it and when you get rid of it.
Well, I like your observations a lot. I agree completely with you on this. Two very fine performances, and we kind of know where this is going to go, but it's just fun watching the journey. And yeah, she's very sexy in an offbeat way and very sympathetic, and you can understand why she wants to be with him and why he wants to be with her, and you can completely understand why it's not going to probably last the season there. And I like the way it's kind of relaxed about all of this. It just lets it go at its own pace.
It's very nice the way he holds back. He is not, you know, some dirty old man who's trying to seduce the housekeeper. But once he is seduced, he's in for a lot more than he counted on, and she's not really in there for the long term.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, coming up next, our Thumbs Up video features two of the big winners from last year's Academy Awards.
Ebert and Roeper's Thumbs Up video is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. At the movies or at home, Raisinets.
In case you shake apart and want a brand new start to do that. Yeah!
This year's Oscar winner, Chicago, is new on DVD this week, and it opens our Thumbs Up video section. The first musical to win the Oscar since Oliver in 1968. It stars Renee Zellweger as Roxy Hart, the girl who would do anything to get into show business, and Richard Gere as her lawyer.
Yes, Mrs. Hart feels that it was the tragic combination of liquor and jazz which led to her downfall. Next question.
The high point of this new disc is the deleted musical number Class, performed here by Queen Latifah and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
And even kids will kick your shins and give you sass.
Kids will kick your shins and give you sass.
Nobody's got no class.
Also this week, new on DVD, I'm recommending the remarkable Hollywood documentary The Kid Stays in the Picture. It's based on the autobiography of legendary producer Robert Evans, who produced The Godfather and Rosemary's Baby, but was busted for cocaine and linked indirectly to a murder trial.
The name Evans gets ink.
The bells and whistles include a director commentary track and Roy Scheider and Dustin Hoffman doing their Bob Evans imitation.
Well, you know, I'd like to take you and Elsa to lunch tomorrow. Okay. If you promise not to eat with your fingers. Well, I'll try. Okay.
I was wondering why there's no commentary track by Evans, but he narrates the movie, so I guess, in a way, there is.
Okay, also new on DVD is Michael Moore's controversial Academy Award-winning documentary, Bowling for Columbine. It's not really a traditional documentary so much as a scathing and poignant piece of performance art, with Moore as the rabble-rousing liberal for life who loves his country but hates its culture of violence.
Wow. Sweet. Well, here's my first question. Do you think it's a little dangerous handing out guns in a bank?
The DVD extras include Moore in a backyard in Michigan talking about his infamous Oscar acceptance speech.
I'm Michael Moore. What else was I going to do?
And one of my favorite non-traditional musicals is now on DVD. Director-choreographer Bob Fosse was a prime force in such works as Damn Yankees, Cabaret, Sweet Charity, and the original stage production of Chicago, and he told his own story in the Fellini-esque All That Jazz. The 1979 film received multiple Oscar nominations, including a Best Actor nod for Roy Scheider as Joe Gideon, a hard-smoking, pill-popping, egomaniacal Broadway genius. Fosse's trademark choreography is on display in the great opening audition number. The DVD also includes some all-too-brief glimpses of the real late Bob Fosse at work. All That Jazz and all the DVDs we talked about on this show arrive in stores on August 19th.
People are always asking me if I've ever been wrong about movies. Well, probably lots of times, but the other night I was looking at All That Jazz, and I was wrong to give it a negative review. I said it was a rip-off of Fellini's 8.5, but it's not, and I was wrong.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and on DVD it really springs to life, the colors, the music, and the performances. Okay, coming up later in the show, Open Range, starring Kevin Costner and Robert Duvall.
If you like hard work, long hours, and getting dirty for low pay, I got an opening on my SWAT team.
I don't mind that at all.
SWAT is unique among recent action thrillers because it bothers to create characters, it has a plot, and the action is more or less plausible. We gave it 2 thumbs up last week. It opens this weekend, and it's a return to traditional movie craftsmanship after too many movies where special effects replace human beings. Samuel L. Jackson and Colin Farrell co-star as SWAT officers, and the movie sticks to its story and takes time to develop its characters, and so it's a lot more exciting and involving than mindless, non-stop action.
Also getting 2 thumbs up on last week's show and opening this weekend is Freaky Friday. Jamie Lee Curtis is excellent as a widow who's overworked, and Lindsay Lohan is really good too as her stressed out daughter. A fortune cookie curse has them trading spaces.
This isn't mine. Those aren't mine. That's definitely not mine.
I like the pop music, I like the performances, and I was genuinely touched by the relationships in Freaky Friday.
Actors must love body switch movies because they get to play themselves and they get to play the other actor, and they can study various kinds of body language and behavior.
I think it's a fun acting challenge,
Yes,
and it's well done in this movie. Okay, comic book cult hero Harvey Pekar springs to life in American Splendor, one of the best movies of the year. It vibrates with creativity and hums with brilliant performances. In the 70s, Pekar and illustrator Robert Crumb created a series of kind of reality comics about Pekar's work as a file clerk in a Cleveland VA hospital and his curmudgeonly worldview. Pekar's fiercely loyal following then grew with a stage play based on his life and some memorable but increasingly uncomfortable appearances on Late Night with David Letterman. And Harvey even meets a woman.
Look, you know, I was going to clean up, but why should I give you any false notions? Well, the truth is I got a serious problem with cleanliness. Well, I could wash a dish 10 times, it'd still be dirty. They even kicked me out of the Army because I couldn't learn to make a bed.
That's Paul Giamatti in a nomination-worthy performance as Harvey, and Hope Davis excellent as Joyce. The real Harvey and Joyce, as well as Harvey's real co-workers, occasionally step into the story.
Did I say I watch television?
Yeah, you mentioned you watch TV, you listen to your jazz records, you read, you write, you do your stick figures, so you could plan for your next comic book.
American Splendor is written and directed with great style, intelligence, and warmth by Sherry Springer Berman and Robert Pulcini. They know there's something irresistible about this guy Pekar, who at first glance seems like another crabby schlub with a nowhere job and nothing to say, but is actually an original American artist. I doubt there's anything a critic could say to make Harvey Pekar happy, but I am giving this movie a big thumbs up.
You know, they tell beginning writers to write about what they know, and Harvey Pekar certainly does that. You know, this is his life that American Splendor is about, and it is funny, it's involving. It's just an amazingly good film. I'm going to put this on my best 10 list. And in the film, you see Paul Giamatti, and then you see Harvey Pekar, and they're back and forth. It's amazing how they both seem to be playing aspects of the same character, not only physically, but mentally. And I've met Harvey Pekar and his wife Joyce and their daughter. And then looking at the film again, I realized this movie, what you see is exactly what you get.
That's the genius of this. It's not just a show-offy technique by these directors to say, oh, here's the real actors. For one thing, you find out how true and accurate these performances are, and then you see Harvey's animation technique, which is really good. I mean, his dialogue, and then R. Crumb and these other great illustrators who have worked with him. So there's about 3 different levels going on, and of course, now we're going to get Pekar writing things about the movie and how that's probably just a big pain to him anyway, because now he's famous again and he's got to get things going, because he does have a self-destructive bent as well.
Well, you know, he kind of gets himself onto the Letterman show and then off the Letterman show, but when you see that footage of the real Letterman show, you realize that's really Harvey. I mean, Harvey is never acting.
No.
He's always doing exactly whatever it is that he feels he has to do.
And Giamatti never misses a beat playing him.
And now an early review. Kevin Costner's new Western open Range, which opens next week, takes place on the fault line between the Old and New West. Costner and the great Robert Duvall play cowboys who graze their cattle on the free range and get into a deadly showdown with ranchers who want to fence them out. Costner places the men in the same limitless vistas he celebrated in Dances with Wolves, and then takes them into town for ominous words from Michael Gambon.
You know, a few years back, a free graze outfit came through. One night, the cattle got stampeded, the wagons caught on fire, and one of those boys was shot off his horse in the middle of it all.
Shot in the back, was he?
Diego Luna plays a kid who also works for Duvall, and after the rancher's men shoot him, they discuss the danger of taking him back into that town.
You think they'll just let you waltz in there pretty as you please and waltz out again?
Don't figure into it, boss. Button deserves every chance we can give him. All right.
Costner is a Civil War veteran who was an expert and willing killer, but he hasn't killed in 10 years. He confesses his past to Annette Bening, who plays the sister of the local doctor.
I've seen who you are, Charlie. The way you looked after that boy, and the respect you give Boss. They might be little bets, but they're enough for a woman who looks.
Men are going to get killed here today, Sue, and I'm going to kill them.
Meanwhile, danger waits outside the door. Costner, as director, shows a sure hand for the scenes of conflict and violence, and he benefits from another wonderful Robert Duvall performance, as a man would rather risk his life than do something he feels wrong about. The film's weak point is in Costner's romance with the Annette Bening character, because it's hard to imagine her falling in love more or less at first sight with this rough man who's about to be in a gunfight. And at the end, there's the strange feeling that they have two farewell scenes when one would have been enough. But the movie works as a glorious traditional Western epic, and thumbs up for me.
Thumbs up for me, too. There are two genres in which Kevin Costner really excels: baseball movies and Westerns. Open Range doesn't have the epic, self-important weight of Dances with Wolves, but that makes for a more entertaining ride. I think this is one of the finest Westerns since Unforgiven. Costner is outstanding as he taps into his darker nuances to play the gunslinger trying to forget his past. And as that crusty mentor with a perpetual twinkle, Robert Duvall has a juicy, tailor-made role ripe for a Best Supporting Actor nomination.
We got a warrant sworn for attempted murder for them that tried to kill the boy who's laying over there at the docks trying to stay alive. Swore out another one for them that murdered the big fellow you had in your cell. Only ours ain't writ by no tin star bought and paid for, Marshal. It's writ by us. And we aim to enforce it.
Open Range spends more time in town than on the plains, but you do get those breathtaking vistas, and you understand why Charlie and Boss have spent their entire adult lives sleeping under the stars.
You reckon them cows were getting killed over?
Well, cows is one thing, but one man telling another man where he can go in this country is something else.
Open Range walks a bit too much in the footprints of High Noon and Gunfight at the OK Corral, but it is a worthy tribute. As a director, Costner has the confidence to take his time to establish these characters before plunging them into a violent quagmire. And I really admired the authenticity of the final gun battle. It's not clean and choreographed. Men stumble, men shoot and miss, men get shot in the back. Men die in messy ways. It's jarring and disturbing and unforgettable.
Oh, yes, it is. And there's that wonderful scene where Costner, who has been in the war and has shot people and has been under fire, explains to Duvall the strategy is likely to be from the other side. And he reads those guys and he says, this guy is going to freeze.
Yeah.
This guy is going to hesitate to shoot. He goes right down the line. You think in most Westerns, everybody just stands there and shoots at each other, but he realizes each person in a situation like that is going to behave differently, and if they understand that, they can win.
I think it's beautifully done.
Yes, it is. Okay, coming up next, is Geely the worst film of all time, or is it merely a bad movie?
Visit our website at ebertandroeper.tv or at movies.com.
In every relationship, there's a bull and a cow. I'm the bull. You're the cow. Got that?
Yeah, I got it. Bull cow.
The biggest movie story of the summer involves Geely, a film not many people have actually seen. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have been excoriated by the nation's film critics, who unleashed a withering barrage of scorn. And what I want to know is, why were they so mad? Geely doesn't work, that's obvious. Even Affleck said so in an interview in Variety. But it's an ambitious movie that tries to do something new. Instead of being a routine romantic potboiler, it surprises us by making Lopez a lesbian, letting the two of them talk frankly about their sexual identities. J-Lo and Affleck took a chance, and the critics slapped them down, but the movie is quirky and offbeat and never boring, and it can't possibly be the worst film in any year where we're still waiting for the brown bunny.
Well, I can tell you why we're so mad, many of my fellow critics, is because we had to sit through this garbage, and yeah, they tried to do something different, but they failed so spectacularly and so miserably, and in such, I think, a condescending and smug and arrogant way, where J-Lo has the camera focusing on her while she's doing her yoga position, so we can see she's in great shape, and Affleck is doing this cheap Jersey accent. Roger, it's an awful film.
It's frequently the case in movies that the camera focuses on actresses so that we can see that they're in good condition. They made a bad movie. They did not commit a crime.
Well, they committed a cinematic crime, and I find them guilty. Okay, looking ahead to next week's show, we'll review Jackie Chan in The Medallion.
Sorry.
Now, just a personal word. I'm not going to get to go to the Telluride and Toronto film festivals this year because I have to stay in Chicago for a series of radiation treatments on a tumor of the salivary gland. This is a follow-up to my surgery last February. I'll still be seeing movies, though, working full-time, writing reviews, and doing the show.
Okay, recapping this week's movies, we split on Le Divorce. 2 thumbs up for The Housekeeper, 2 thumbs way up for American Splendor, 2 thumbs up for Open Range. It opens next week. And don't forget, also opening this week, 2 thumbs up for SWAT and 2 thumbs up for Freaky Friday.
Remember, you can hear all our recent reviews at ebertandroeper.tv or at movies.com and read us in print at suntimes.com. And until next week, the balcony is closed.
You know, I thought Le Divorce was so simplistic in the French-American differences, it could have been edited by George Bush.
Differences between nations are always simplistic. When you get deep, we're all the same.
Oh, come on. They could have done a better job of showing these two cultures getting together.
No, they do a great job of showing the very...